Jacinda. Welcome to Spark TV.
Woohoo!
So excited to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you.
Let's start out by telling everyone who you are and what you do.
Okay. My name is Jacinda Paddy, and I am a creative at heart, um, gone coach.
Ooh.
I am on a mission to take my 25 plus years of experience producing, dancing, singing, acting, puppeteering, circus performing, um, and anything else that I threw in the mix there for 25 years. And using all of that, those skills and those lessons that I learned on the road and on the stage, and helping professionals improve their performance and their performance in their business. So I'm, as you can tell, I'm so excited.
I love
I'm
it.
like, I just want to bridge that gap between you are in a corporate space and you do have to be professional,
Yeah.
but there is a way to do it and be yourself. And there are techniques that professional actors and actresses use that I want to help you with, even clowns.
I love it so much. And it's just, you know what it just sparked in me is like so many business owners I talk to are like, I don't want to show up. I don't want to be on camera. I don't want to give that presentation. I don't want to do the thing that like puts me out there. And I just feel like this is the bridging of the gap that you're talking about.
Well, I'm trying to explain to people and coach people into finding how they're comfortable to do it.
Yes.
Because I'm not asking you to wear a pink top and have crazy curly hair. That's me. I've been doing that my whole life. But we find and we take the time to find what it is for you. What
Mm.
what is your comfort and how do you want to show up? And then work from there. And I think people are trying in the business world to, I don't know, put a fancy jacket on or
Yeah.
be who they think they need to be to achieve storytelling and narratives and connection. Where in actual fact, I just want you to be you,
Mm.
and I want to help you find what your voice is and who you are so that you can do it. And it's interesting. When someone puts a mirror up to you, I mean, I've had it done to me 1,000 times over. So that's why I'm really good at the
Mm.
feeling. But yeah, it's almost taking a step out of your business, remembering what you created and why you created it, and then actually making sure that that's the message that's getting across. Because sometimes people, are 6 years into a business and they're like, oh, I've been doing this sales pitch for 6 years.
Mm.
Do you remember what you were pitching?
No.
So,
No.
yeah. And are you like telling people who and what you are and sharing with them, a bit about you so that it can be humanized? I think um, my my step into business properly was through a tech startup company that my brother um, owned. And like they put a professional clown in the head, like front of sales.
Yes, I love it.
So it was just, it was like, how can I do this professional work but my way?
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, through coaching him into meetings, into pitches, into, um, sales calls, this, that, whatnot. I always just brought this really different aspect to the team conversations, which was where this business kind of sparked because um, it was an angle people weren't looking at in the business
Mm.
world. So yeah, it's interesting.
I think it's amazing. Let's start, before we get into that, let's start back at how this began, or the career beforehand. You talk about being a professional clown. I want to explore that, and being an actress, a dancer. Like, talk to me about the career before this phase of business.
No worries. I think it- how do you how do you
How do you summarize
how do you
those
summarize
years?
25 years? I'm struggling. Well, I think it comes down to quite a moment in my life was when I saw Nikki Webster fly across the stadium in the Sydney Olympics. I think
Ah,
I was 8 years old,
mm-hmm.
and I thought, I want to, like, I want to affect audiences like this. This is amazing. This is magical.
Mm,
Imagine if you could, like, take all these thousands of people, millions of people across the world on journeys and discoveries and stories. So combine that with growing up listening to my parents and my grandparents' stories. So both my grandparents' sides of the family came over on boats from Egypt and from Greece. So
wow.
I grew up with a story, and my story didn't start in Australia. And I think that really resonated with me as an artist. And
Mm.
forever, I was in a dance studio. I tell you, if you want your daughter to stay out of trouble, put her in 20 hours of dancing a week, because I didn't even know what a boy was or didn't care until I was 19. So in reflection, I realized I just loved the people. I loved being around people. I loved being physical. That's all I knew through, and I loved being on stage, and I loved the applause, and I loved all of that. So straight out of school, I became a dancer. I did a professional performing arts course. That wasn't enough because of this desire to affect audiences. As that 8 year old, I decided I wanted to affect audiences with stories. And the way I listened to my stories, my family history, I've always wanted to share those stories more. And so that led me to acting school, where I did screen acting. And 12 years ago, they didn't want a bubbly, curly, crazy little mess. They wanted quite mundane and plain, run of the mill casting.
Mm.
So I got itchy feet. I still wanted that applause, and I wanted to be doing and traveling. And when I wasn't performing, I was traveling. So it was a fine line between both. And I did both, sometimes together, but mostly I performed, I worked my ass off in crazy jobs to then um, be able to travel the world and visit the countries and the cultures that I'd heard my grandparents talk about. So I tried it as a dancer, did the acting, I also got bored auditioning. So I became a personal trainer because I felt dumb. So I became a personal trainer and to supplement the income whilst being an artist. And I it landed um, being a dinosaur puppeteer for 3 years,
This
traveling
is
around, traveling around, yeah, traveling around Australia, performing on, in some of the most rural parts of Australia, in the middle of Charleville, in the middle of Queensland, and
wow.
Tambo. Um, it was amazing. It was eye opening. We
Mm,
took theatre to kids that had never seen theatre before.
mm.
And it was such a fun, interactive show. It was great. It was kind of my introduction to clowning and comedy. So I was doing that. I was dance teaching and personal training when I was in Sydney. I was going on holidays. I was immersing in culture. I just, I didn't want to do both.
Mhm.
So I paused, and I paused my career. I paused the work, and I packed my backpack and went traveling for 2 years by myself.
Wow.
not working. Now, that in hindsight is an interesting thought process to take 2 hours, 2 years out of your career. I definitely feel like there's a bit of a setback there, but I am so much richer for that experience.
Yeah, the life experience.
Yeah.
Never underrate that. Never overrate that. Whatever I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And as a 19-year-old in an acting course,
Yeah.
they're like, you need to get experience. At 19, I didn't really hate any, well, that's a lie, but I had only had a couple of life experiences that, I come from a loving family. I, love my friends. I'm a I didn't have this angst that they told me I needed to have as an actor. So
Mm,
that pissed me off as well. So that led me on a different path. I didn't, it didn't sit well.
mm,
So fast forward 2 years, 21 countries, amazing. Like, couldn't recommend it enough to jump on a plane and don't even think. Came back to Australia and got into circus school because at 28, I thought, well, if I'm going to do something, and if I didn't feel like I was an artist because I'd been traveling for 2 years, my
mm.
identity was a traveler. So I had to do something that took me back into my art. So I joined circus school at 28, which was an interesting choice, option, and experience. But from that course, I found comedy, I found clowning and physical theatre, which was a step away from my jazz hands and the serious acting. And it was this fusion of all these things that possessed as a like as a performer.
Mm,
So I immersed myself in the circus scene in Melbourne. I found the clowning community, and started to, understand comedy, stand up comedy. So sat there, and I tried to get into the bachelor degree of circus, which would have been 3 years. But what do you know? Another institution didn't want Jacinda.
bloody hell. It's a sign.
Look, NIDA didn't want me. Nike didn't want me. It's fine. It's fine. But it sparked my creative producing.
Mm,
And at that point, I made a decision to give it all or walk away.
mm,
And I went, right, you don't want me. I'm sick of hearing I don't fit. I don't fit in the mundane acting. I don't fit. I'm too short for the dance industry, but they failed to tell me that when I was growing up. I didn't know there was a circus industry until I was 28, which my muscly ass body is suited for. But then that meant I had to do so much training that I just was not prepared to do as, you know, off the back of a 2 year holiday. And I decided to produce. So
cool.
why not produce a 4 woman show called Boxed in Sideways?
I love it.
Too small, too big, too tall, too short, never fit, all the things. It was my feminist dream.
It's the big up yours to
It
everybody.
was. And
Mm,
the biggest thing was, can I do it? It actually, it didn't have anything. Yes, it
mm,
was the big up yours, but it was a proof to myself
I love
that
that.
these stories and this dream had to come out, because until that point, I didn't feel heard, I didn't feel seen, and I didn't feel understood because nobody knew what was going on in my head. Yeah, they knew Jacinda was full of energy, joyful, creative, and does whatever she wants and jumps on a plane and travels for 2 years and tours through the middle of Australia and blah, 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 blah. But nobody knew what was in my head as an artist or as a producer. And for me, it was quite liberating for people to see and experience my art and for me to watch them actually go on a journey and that I could do the thing that I wanted to do as an 8-year-old. Could take people on that journey. And it was a beautiful show. Absolutely beautiful. And I love
I
it.
just I just love that, another thing I hear women in business talk about is, being rejected.
Mm.
And, like, why don't people ask me to go to speak at that event? Or why don't I get asked on that podcast? Or why not? And I'm like, maybe you don't need permission from other people. Maybe you need to give permission to yourself and just do it anyway.
It is a bit of that. It is.
I love it. I love
And
it.
it was a rude shock that it was all happening internally.
Mm,
And, it's a testament to this business. People are like, how are you here? I'm like, because I got girlfriends from year 7 and they are still listening to my lectures. So if those women who have kept me around for 20 years,
mm.
like 18 years, and they're still happy to listen to a rant from Jacinda Patty, then geez, I can start getting paid for these rants.
I wish someone would pay me for my rants. Maybe that's what this podcast is. Who
Yeah.
knows?
But yeah, but you're right. And it wasn't that it I probably wasn't in the spaces or in the place where I wanted to be.
Mm,
So becoming a producer really um took me to a new space and a new
mm,
world where I could sit. I very quickly realized, how the hell do I pay for artists?
mm,
And decided that was the too hard basket. We did a lot of in-kind work and I fronted a lot of the money for that production. I fronted all the money for that production, but kind of they were friends, and I was like, this isn't right. I'm
mm,
not paying them, even though they got it. We were all at a point in circus school coming out of it, different things. So it was
mm.
okay. They were learning, they were getting something out of it.
Yeah.
But I just was like, I don't even know how to start. I don't want to dive into how do I pay artists. So
Mm,
I was like, great, I'll do solo shows. So and it still was this thing because I didn't have a speaking role in Boxed In Sideways. I
okay.
was I was the journey creator. I was the audience, you know, um,
Wrangler.
wrangler. I took them on a journey. I created their experience, but I hadn't used my voice.
Mm,
So for me, my first one woman show, Safety Banana, in hindsight, I feel like I was just yelling at the audience. Listen to me. I have stuff to say. It's very important. Listen, listen, listen. It's entertaining. Blah, 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 blah.
mm,
That's what that show was. It was entertaining. It was um funny. It was the tales of a solo female traveling around the world finding and losing love. And just it was fun. I roller skated, I danced, I act, I had audience participation. I put what I wanted. Again, I told my stories. You know, I stood on stage as a female talking about men. And
mm,
I actually did a competition and won like a physical theatre circus competition. And one of the adjudicators said, um, you might want to think about what you're doing. You're standing on stage talking about men.
and yeah.
And to
Yes.
which I
And
responded, is that a question? Because that's exactly what I'm doing.
mm,
I made a decision as a solo physical performer that I was never going to take my clothes off. I wasn't going to get my oohs and ahs through nudity,
mm-hmm.
but I was going to use my voice, my stories to shock people. And hey, that's a success in my book. If it made
Absolutely.
her uncomfortable, it made her think, then, great.
And
Um,
isn't that interesting? Like the idea of making people uncomfortable. I think that's so many people play it safe and wonder why they don't impact people, like we've got to have opinions. We do have to use our voice. We do have to shock and awe a little bit sometimes because otherwise we're just same.
and that's where the correlation between what I did as a performer
Mm,
has such gravity in business.
yes.
As I said, you don't have to be a roller skating, banana eating comedian, but I was just I was just not proving a point, but I was just telling a story.
Mm,
Um, I went on to do I didn't believe that I could affect audiences until I did my third show. Here we are with the quality control aspect,
yeah.
not believing
The
it.
perfectionist
The perfectionist in
tendencies.
me had to spend another 6 months post COVID, locked herself in a room for 6 months and isolated herself to write another show.
Wow.
And that's where Tinder Cindy came to light.
Tinder
Now,
Cindy. What?
Tin,
This is the
Tin,
best. That's the best name ever.
Tinder Cindy. So Cindy is my alter ego. And who you see today is Jacinda. And everything the new business is Jacinda Patty.
Hmm.
But I guess essentially to find this voice and to make this change in my career, I needed a safety net. And my safety net was Cindy. It was this alter ego that is an exaggeration of the female mind.
Mm,
And under her, I felt safe and comfortable to tell my stories. So Tinder Cindy was a second version, a second, what's the word? In the series of Cindy.
mm,
Um, so Cindy came back from traveling around the world, finding and losing love, and she moved in with her Greek grandmother. So for the first time, I was telling my family stories,
mm,
which is what 8-year-old me wanted to do. Now, I set out to make it a show about Tinder, but I found a more poignant meaning, which was we have grandmothers and mothers who are women. So my show showcased a young woman living with her grandmother as women.
mm,
And I played a split character. I played both characters, which I thought I had to go to NIDA to achieve.
mm.
I thought I had to go to NIDA to learn. That was a dream of mine. I thought if I'm to be an actor, I need to be able to switch characters. I was like, bugger it. I'll just put it in my show. Because when you run your business, when you run your show, you get to do what you want. And I
Oh my
was
God.
learning
I
that.
love how you just said if you want to, run your own business, run your own show. It's like, oh, I love that. Like you can design it exactly how you want to.
Mm,
It is literally your choice to design your business and your life around whoever you want to be.
mhm.
Oh my God, I love that you just said that. Keep going. Sorry. I
No,
just got to.
um this hasn't been easy.
Mm,
Like I'm I joined circus school in 2017. I decided to be a producer in 2018. Since 2018, there was a uh, online personal training business called Cindy Sweats. In the middle of all of that, hey, COVID
Thanks, COVID. Thanks for that little business.
needed a thing, but that's where I learned all my business and
Yeah,
then
yeah.
able to bridge the gap between, like, for me
Mhm.
personally, bridge the
Mm,
gap between what the producer, like, I had PR, sales, I was getting myself on podcasts, on, getting the ABC to reply to me. That
Yeah.
was just little old producer me,
Mm,
behind a laptop, sending an email, having the audacity to do it, to
mm,
start believing in herself. So after Tinder, after Tinder Cindy and receiving that standing ovation in Newcastle, and producing a one woman show across 3 festivals, and touring it to Newcastle, Melbourne, and Sydney Fringe, where I'm would say my biggest achievement has been selling out Sydney Fringe Festival and winning an emerging producer award,
wow.
NIDA Emerging Producer Award. I did it.
Absolutely.
I did it. But 300 people on seats for that whole season was not enough people. And the funniest thing happened on show 5 in Sydney. I realized I didn't need the applause anymore. And this shocked fucking shit out of me.
Mm.
I was like, what does this mean?
Yeah, you're like, well, if I don't need this, if I've done this,
What,
what
but,
now? Who
but
am I
what does it
now?
mean? And essentially, I had to either commit to doing the theatre scene, um, the festival scene, and that's
Mm,
like taking a show, evolving a show's, committing, blah, blah, and I just went, that is way too much effort for a round of applause. And maybe, within that time, I'd done my show to 2 people in some instances.
mm,
A full 45-minute show to 2 people.
wow.
I'd done it having projectile vomited. My lighting guy told me not to eat the banana. I decided to eat the banana. I had to run off stage, throw the banana up, come back on. My tap shoe broke. I picked my tap shoe up, started bleeding, finished the show, holding back more projectile vomit, tapping the last number out, holding my hand up that was bleeding, and then coming back for my bow, waiting for the audience to leave, and then literally collapsing.
Oh my God. This sounds like a business owner to me.
that
That is
that
the
is
like plight
business.
of a business owner.
So yeah, as I said,
Oh
there's a
my
lot of
God.
correlations between.
There's so much. Wow, that's full on.
My friend is my witness. She did not know what to do when I was projectile vomiting before we had to get in the taxi to
Oh my
be
God.
at the venue on time. And whenever I send her a message, I go, I'm scared. What am I doing? She goes, you did a 45-minute show, projectile vomiting, bleeding, puke, like about to fall over. You can do anything.
Yeah, yeah, you're fine. This is nothing.
She goes, that was hard. This is easy.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
So it's um yeah, it was those different things that
Mm,
shaped me into the business woman that I am today.
mm,
And it's knowing that so many people were affected by my third story.
mm,
I realized that I actually enjoy the producing, the stories side of things. Actually, I just enjoy the production.
mm.
The is my lighting guy gonna cancel on me 24 hours before my sold out season? Yes. Is the second lighting person I get the day before my sold out season going to stay with me? No. Did I need to find a third lighting person the day of my opening night?
Oh my God.
And honestly, I think my mum slapped me in the face when that was happening. She's she was like, fix it. You got this. I was like, I
Do
need some
I?
love.
Do I?
I was like, I need some love right now. She's like, you haven't done all this work to let this situation hold
Mm,
you back.
yes.
And that brings me to my brain's trust and the reason why, as a solo producer and a solo business owner, I can do what I've done is because I have an amazing group of women and men who support me, listen to me, talk to me, help me, guide me, and I lean on them. And you
Yeah,
have to be willing to lean on people to grow. So
absolutely.
it's, I think it's why I reached out to you. I was like, help. I'm lonely in this adventure. I need to know that it's it's going to be okay. Um yeah, so it's all those. I realized I liked the bitsy piecey bit. So why not create a business where I can empower others to tell their story? I can help them find their voice, refine their message, speak their narrative, and teach them from my 25 years of tricks what works for them. I don't have a one, a one fit program.
Mm,
I have a bag of tricks that I will keep pulling out of until we find what works for them. Because that's what I've done. I've had the audacity to do it myself, and I really just want to make it easier for people.
I think it's incredible. And I'm walking away from this conversation going, I want to be the producer of my own life and business. I
Yes.
want to create like this story that I'm so proud to tell. You have literally inspired me today. I feel so excited about thinking about it in that way.
It's as I said, it's bridging that gap.
Mm,
And it's not tell your story. It's not speak better. It's figure out what the meaning is
mm,
behind it.
yes.
Figure out, go back. You have to, I go back to, you know, their why, their, who they are, what they want, it's my ridiculous, which is probably my worst enemy at the same time, my empathy.
Mm,
And because I've put shows on in tennis courts in the desert to 10 children. And I've performed on stages in Dubai. And I've done a 45-minute show to two people. I've also performed to thousands of people at rugby cup opening ceremonies. And, it's, if you don't have the experience, you need to start giving yourself the experience. You need to start with what you have. It's not about jumping all over the place. It's about being true to who you are.
yeah. And I love the idea of giving ourselves permission to do it.
Audacity is the word
Yeah.
of
Everyone
the
needs more audacity today.
everyone needs more audacity. I
Oh my God, you're incredible.
it's last year I essentially, I had an identity crisis. I was like,
Mm,
I don't want to be a performer. What? That was, I wanted to go to Hollywood, but Hollywood looks a bit different now. Hollywood didn't necessarily mean physically LA. It was maybe an impact scale
yeah, yeah.
of how I wanted to affect people.
Mm,
Um, but you know, last year I'd experienced this. I don't need the applause. What do I do without the applause?
where's the
Extra.
reward? Oh my God.
Um, but I decided to launch a podcast. That's how I did it. But not even, you don't get the applause in a podcast. You
No,
don't know who's listening. You don't.
no.
So it's, it's one step away. But, I knew I wanted to coach, and being a dance teacher, being a a child entertainer, personal trainer. It's all about helping people push past their comfort zones. And it was like,
Mm.
well, how do I combine that? Because I like doing that, but with art, my soul. And I just got sick of it. I was like, I want to teach people to walk into a room like Jacinda Patty. How do I do that?
We are all channeling Jacinda Patty today.
I hope so. Channel your audacity. Look, I've I like to think that I can. My brother paid me the biggest compliment the other week. He said, "You are the only person I know that can be put into any situation and connect."
Mhm.
And with CEOs, producers, artists, yogis, you know, kids. Some people say that I'm on their level. I can speak to them, but
We're all from anything, that's
and,
fine.
but it's. I was like, well, I need to use these skills.
Mm.
How, how do how do I use these skills, and and I guess that's in business, stick to your strengths, be aware of your weaknesses,
Mm.
work through them, and don't let them stop you from doing things, but be aware of your strengths. And yeah, I mean, I could talk to you for days about this,
Oh
which
my God. And tell me about it. And that is a great segue because we do need to wrap this podcast. I know I'll just sit here and go, oh my God, I'm going to be the producer of my own show. I'm channeling this. I'm getting the audacity. I'm leaving this inspired. But I do love to wrap our podcasts on one last piece of advice for women in business. So reflecting on, oh my God, all of the things, that whole journey, would there be a piece of advice you would give to a woman who is on her business journey right now?
I think, let me think,
If not
believe it
being,
or not,
yeah.
and be speechless. This is the perfectionist in me. I Something I say when I teach choreography. There comes a point where you can learn and learn and learn and learn and learn and learn and learn. And there comes a point, and I say this to my clients as well in personal training, there is a point where you need to not think. And as a dancer and as a performer, you need to trust, and you need to create systems that allow you to trust that you have done every single thing that you can. And there comes a point where you just need to not think and do. It's essentially what Command Your Presence, my new business, is. It's helping people find those strategies and those preparation techniques and things like that, so that they can get to this point.
Mm.
Just don't think, believe, and do it. And I think the audacity I've had to do that over and over again. Believe in the first show, believe I can be a producer, believe I can be a puppeteer, believe I can be a roller skater, believe I can be a professional salsa dancer, believe that I can do another one woman show, believe that I can have an online personal training business, believe that I can knock on the door of the corporate world. You know, trust in yourself, and there comes a point where you just have to do.
You are absolutely incredible, Jacinda. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us today. I know everyone in the Spark community will have just taken that on board and will bring the belief, the audacity, all of the channeling of Jacinda into their business life today. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. It has been a pleasure.